Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello, and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I love when I get my guests on the line before the show. We just try to touch base real briefly to talk about how the show's going to go, but then you instantly click. It's like, all right, this is going to be a good show. We got a lot to talk about, and today is no exception to that. I got Raylen Davis on the line. He's calling from Scottsdale. I'm up in Montana. We got through that minus 30 degree weather. Now we're on the other side of it. It's 33 degrees out, which is 63 degrees warmer, and it feels like summer weather out there. So just saying. All right. Raylen, how you doing?
I'm living the dream, man. I know that feeling because I grew up in Michigan.
Yeah.
And so, I know that the 9-month winters. And so when I hear the word 33 degrees, I remember why I moved to Arizona in the first place. I don't do that.
Yeah, about the word minus 30 degrees.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm okay.
Hey, before we hit record, and I want to jump into this because I think it's important. It's important for what we both do as coaches and consultants and working with other people. We talked a little bit about health and wellness, and we talked about Spartan, and Joe DeSena wanted to get millions of people off the couches. Now, I could tell through the video here, you're a healthy person as well. You said you used to fight professionally. What role does health play in your life? Because we're coming into the new year. Everybody's going to have their New Year's resolutions, right?
The gym will be filled again. Yeah.
For a day. Talk about what role health plays in your life first. And I want to start the show there.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I just want to clarify this. I don't fight anymore. I used to. Retired a long time ago. I just train jiu-jitsu still. But a while ago, there was somebody that reposted me, and you could tell I'm still mad about this. And some of my clients will be like, Raylen, get off of it. But there was someone a while ago that had a tweet that said, doing the cold plunge, doing jiu-jitsu is not going to make you a millionaire. So stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it kind of irked me a little bit. There's not many things that bothered me, and that was one of the things. And so I replied in a very nice way, but basically said, you're full of shit. And here's why. And this is the role that health plays for me anyway.
Yeah.
Is it starts there. Like jiu-jitsu and being healthy and all those things is a way for you to have the foundation of discipline and obviously the foundation of creativity. Like, how many great ideas have you had you're in the middle of a workout in the gym, and then you're like, something clicks in your head, right? Because you get out of your own way. And so for me, it's the foundation to everything that I do. On one end of the business, it's the ability to, again, create discipline, have that motivation, also show from example to your clients. Like, I'm sorry, and if anyone takes offense to this, but for me, if you show up sloppy in your personal life, you're going to show up sloppy in your business. It's
That's
just,
right.
there's no other way around it. And then the other side, I have a son, he's 4. It's about showing versus telling my son self-discipline, self-mastery. So, it's one thing to tell your kid, like, hey, you need to be a master of your own life. You need to be able to find something, a skill that you can constantly work on, strive to be better at, not for glory, not for success, but just for the ability to improve oneself. You can tell them that they're not going to listen, or you can show them. So that's the two reasons for me and why health's important and how it shows up anyway.
To your point about clients and how you show up to work, you're going to attract other successful people that believe in health as a factor of what they're doing. Right. And that line of strong body, strong mind is not just a line. That's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I believe in getting my workout in, being healthy and strong. I'm not going to say I have a great diet, but a decent diet so that I have all the nutrients to perform the way I need to perform. And I can put in a good day's worth of work,
Mm-hmm.
And I know. And so I just came off 75 hard. Maybe you've heard of the program. This is my 4th round, and my listeners know that I'm a big fan of that. I've been off for 2 weeks, and I know the last 2 weeks with the holiday, plowing through the cookies and all the junk food because the holiday, I know I'm not operating at the best I can be, and it's a determining factor on how my day goes. And I brought it up because I think it's so important to people that want to be successful in business, that want to coach others or help others, that health needs to play a factor in your life.
Well, it's not even just the physical health. Let's talk about the mental fortitude, the mental health of it all, right? Like if you can't, and again, let's go back to the silly thing of a cold plunge, right? Like I there's a local place I go to, they have a cold plunge sauna. Look, there's never been a time in my life that I want to get in that darn cold plunge.
Right?
0% of the time, I'm excited to do it. Okay. But the ability to do two things. One, to go, I'm getting in it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no negotiating. I'm getting in. And then to sit in there for 4 or 5 minutes at like 43 degrees, 42 degrees, whatever it's set at these days. But to surrender, that's the other part of this. Mm-hmm. So in order to actually do the cold plunge for as long as I do it, you have to acknowledge and accept that you're in a cold plunge and it's cold and you want to get out and you're not going to. So how does that translate over to business? There are times that we have to do things we don't like to do. It is what it is. We just have to do it. Whether that's, for some people, they're petrified to get on a sales call, or, maybe it's putting out content or starting a podcast, whatever that thing is, we have to do it. And we know that at the end of it, we're going to have tons of benefits from it.
Yeah.
You have to accept that sometimes in your life and to overcome it. That surrender to the situation makes everything easier. Again, let's talk about resilience. Not everything goes well. I joke, I talk about this all the time. We did a workshop that in my head was one of those situations. I don't know if you've ever been through this, Jim, when you go, I'm doing this launch, I'm going to do this project, whatever. And either it's going to make a whole bunch of money or I'm losing a whole bunch of money. I don't know if there's any. So anyway, we came out with a live workshop. We had some people come. The people that came loved it. I was expecting like 30 plus people come. 20 people showed up.
Yeah.
So I lost some money.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. I could, complain about it, or you accept what happened. You surrender the situation. Okay, didn't go as planned. And then you show up and you deliver. There's been people that I've heard of, that I know of personally, that leading up to an event, launch, whatever, they're expecting a whole bunch of people. They show up to it and it's not what they expected. And then you can see their performance drop. Mm-hmm. What happened? They didn't accept it, right? They didn't surrender to the situation. They didn't come back to the present moment. So anyway, those things, again, the mental fortitude, obviously you can tell I'm excited about it, but that's the most important thing to me. Like if you don't show up for yourself, you're not going to show up for yourself in your business or in your relationships. That's or right. For your clients. And I can go down the laundry list of other examples.
Well, and by the way, it's a great example that you gave, because there could, even though you wanted more and you got 20, there could be one person in that audience that can change the trajectory of everything you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't show up 100% and give it 100%, even though you were disappointed in the outcome, they would notice. There's stories, time and time again, where that one person in the audience, because you gave it your all, said, I want to work with this guy. And it changes everything. Right. So I appreciate us going down that little left turn there, because, how you do one thing's how you do everything. And if you can be healthy, you're going to show up better for work. I know I do, especially after the holidays, it's time to get after it. So look, let's talk a little bit about your background, who you are, where things started for you, what your younger life looked like, and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, of course. So we're always at the start is the victimhood, mainly because I think a lot of people, unfortunately, today make themselves out to be a victim in their life, meaning they just, and victimhood to me in this context is about not choosing the life in which you want to live. And you're letting circumstance, stories, or excuse decide for you, right? So that was me, though. And the reason why I can talk about it from an honest place is because growing up, my father went away to prison when I was like 7 years old. We were evicted from our home like at least 4 different times that I can remember. Grew up in a motel. Like I didn't have the greatest life in the world. But one of the reasons why was because I accepted that I was a victim, because other people gave me that, right? If I didn't do well at school, guess what? It's okay because your dad's in prison. It's okay because I know you're not eating right. And so as an experiment, I had a coach, a wrestling coach, Coach Smith, who was like a father figure to me. And I remember one day he sat me down and goes, so what do you want to do like for college? I go, I want to be a teacher, right? I was actually going to school to be a PE teacher. And he says, okay, but what do you want though? And I did, told him this lifestyle, which by the way, he was like, that's a $500,000 a year lifestyle I want to live. I'm like, yeah, it's not clicking in my head yet. I'm like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
And he's like, how much money are you going to make as a teacher? I'm like, I don't know, like 35 grand a year. He's like, you don't. And basically the way he articulated to me was most people um, let life give them certain circumstances, stories, whatever. And then their life is dependent on those circumstances. So they go to school, they get a degree, and then they go to, but he goes, what if you did the opposite? You start with what you want, and then you do the behaviors that could lead you there.
Yeah.
And again, it didn't click. I still went to school to be a teacher. It didn't click until years later. But in that moment, though, I started to make a little bit of a shift. I started to choose different behaviors. I started to ignore the past, not ignore, but move past it and stop being a victim of my life. And things got better. And so for me, I, went on to sales and, became a coach of sorts in there. They would bounce me around. We had 30 locations and they would drop me off to different locations. I work on the P&Ls and that all boring thing. But what it did was it turned me into a coach. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I was coaching. I had 120 some odd sales reps that I was responsible for improving them. And then so when the pandemic happened and even right before that, the job sold or the business sold and they cut out a whole bunch of, locations and cut out my job. I had a really cool opportunity. I go, well, what do I want? And I want freedom of time. And I wanted to help people remove their own excuses to so they can improve their life in different ways. I said, I'm just going to be an online coach, I guess. And then that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Never looked back.
Yeah. Good for you. It's interesting. This is the second show I've recorded in the last couple of weeks where somebody's come from a home where a parent was in jail, living, whether that was on the streets or in hotel rooms, what have you. And, it's not an uncommon story, but what is uncommon is what you talked about and my last guest talked about is the ability to look beyond your circumstance and find some of those glimmers of hope. What were some of the steps that helped you believe more in yourself and less of the place that you were in?
So I think the first thing was it wasn't serving me to think the way that I did. I looked at my family and I saw the way that they were living their life, which was a victim mentality.
Yeah.
Why can't we get a break? Why not this? Why not that? And again, I love them to death, but it wasn't serving them in their circumstance, but also wasn't serving them in their happiness or any other way.
Yeah.
And so honestly, if I can be honest with you, there wasn't a book that I read at the time. I just happened to be a wrestler. So I wrestled in high school, I wrestled in middle school. And so in wrestling, you can't blame anybody for anything because it's only you on the mat.
That's right.
Like if you lose, you just lost. And so I think that was, if anything, the biggest thing for me was, I can't blame anybody for my own life. It doesn't matter how I grew up. What happens is how I choose to live my life today. And not to mention too, I just felt better, right? Like if I got a bad grade and I went from literally, I could spell Eddie with my report card at one point to the very next year becoming a straight A student, all the way up until senior year and was able to, qualify to go to the Air Force Academy for football, all these things. And you have to be a straight A student to, get in. That happened in a day. That there wasn't a big uphill battle to it. No, it literally was me choosing to look at the world differently. And I got different results. And so for me, again, the one thing I usually tell people, especially if you're interested in business and being an entrepreneur, coach, whatever, is the way that you're looking the world serving you. And it is in some point, but is it serving you in the way that you want? Because even having a victim mentality does serve you, Jim. It does. It protects you, makes you comfortable. Is it serving you in the way that you want? And that was my big question. Is the way that I'm looking at the world helping me? And it wasn't. It was hurting me more than anything.
Let me ask you maybe a little bit tougher question. I live similarly to you, and my parents are much older now, so we've kind of gotten past the influence of your parents' part. But as much as I pushed back against their narrative, and it was, like I said, it's very similar to yours in terms of how they were living that victim mentality. With what you do now, right? And you're seeing some success as a coach and you're living a different life than what you grew up under. With what you do now, have they made a shift? Is your family still living they're still living the same way, right?
Now, there are some people in the family that I've inspired in some way through my actions, not through talking. And here's, let me make a point though, before I make it sound like I'm bashing my family.
No, it's okay.
I made the mistake of trying to push them to change. and I was too attached to the outcome. So what I would do is, instead of guiding you and showing you the opportunity, I would tell you, Jim, this is the way you need to live your life. The way you're looking at the world is wrong. I was telling people, including my family, and it created a lot of resistance to my family. Right, that was my fault. But with that being said, they still never changed. But again, it's because it serves them still. They're comfortable there. And so what I did later on was I created boundaries. And it was like, now the boundary is, you cannot call me. You get like 3 minutes with me. Jim, if you call me and complain about your life, I'll give you 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I usually ask the question of, when did this happen? Oh, like 2 days ago. Okay, well, I only operate in the present moment. So do you want to move over to the present moment? Because right now nothing's happening, right? So I'm like the worst person to complain to, like literally in the world. But naturally what happened was they stopped calling me.
Right.
And it's cool. But I think, again, for me, this is, again, on the family side, but also just in business too, is the importance of detaching from the outcome. That was my biggest thing, is that all my job is not to make Jim, make my family members, and make them improve their life. My job is to show them the door of opportunity. If they open it, that's not on me anymore. My only job is to get you there.
Yeah. I appreciate you answering that. Honestly, I like I said, very similar to my life, where my family didn't necessarily get out of their own way. And some members, not all of them.
Yeah.
Some have had a tremendous amount of success as well. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because our listeners, you've got people out there that are trying, and they continue to be influenced by their family that don't want to make a change. And I want them to understand that oftentimes you have to walk down this road by yourself. And you can come back. It doesn't mean we don't love them any more or less. It just means that we've decided for ourselves to take a different path. And it's not easy, right?
Jim, can I swear on this part? I should have asked you before, because I swear a lot. Okay, so this is my mentality. And again, some people could say that it's insensitive, but it is what it is. I'm on a train to get to where I'm going to go. I'm on that train, and I want as many people as humanly possible to get on that train with me, but I'm not stopping for anybody. You better jump on that damn train. And if you don't, get out of my damn way. Yeah. And I say that from the mentality, again, if I want everyone to come with me, I'm going there. Like, and I'm not going to, I have a teammate of mine that works for me. And one of the things she says is, Raylen, one of the best and worst things about you is that you will run through walls to make things happen. There's a downside to that, though, Jim, is that sometimes I create more chaos than necessary. But you got like the Kool-Aid man. Yeah, I'm the Kool-Aid man. You know what I mean? But anyway, but with that, if you're at home listening to this, and again, I've been there. We do this thing where we have to help people, that's less fortunate than us. We have to help the people that just don't know. And I was there too. But what happened was I killed myself to help people that did not want to be helped.
Yeah.
There was a dramatic difference from somebody coming to you and saying, you know what, I want to change my life. Here's what I want to do. Can you help me? And then somebody that is not serving themselves, and you spending time helping someone that doesn't want to be helped. That's a very different thing. You can give the opportunity, but detach from the outcome. And I say that because I drove myself crazy for years because I was trying to help people that did not want to be helped.
Yeah.
And so eventually maybe they wake up and they go, you know what, can you help me? Right. And then you do what you can. But if they don't ever do that, then you're the asshole.
Sure.
By you, I mean like me. Like I realized that I was the asshole in the situation because I was pushing people and they didn't want to be pushed.
Yeah.
At that point, it's not my fault. I knew the way that they want to live their life, and I should have just allowed them to do that until they decided they wanted something different. But I still control my emotion and my feelings around it. I still control how I operate and behave. And I just now, because of the decision they made, I don't really hang out with them much. It's nothing about them personally. It's just I have to control my own bubble, so that way I'm constantly inspired. I'm constantly around people that want to, grow and inspire me to grow.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a fair amount of drama, or to use your word, bullshit that surrounds that. Raylen shows up, he's here for a half hour and he leaves. He doesn't care about us. But that's on them. That's not on you. You've set your own parameters, and I've said for probably 30 plus years, cut the draggers. And sometimes the draggers are people in your own family, and you have to realize that, there's a time where you've got to just cut to a decent amount, those ties are, you gave such a wonderful example, because oftentimes we want to fix people that don't want to be fixed, and we're preaching to somebody that doesn't want to be preached to. And if we can lead by example, much like I do with my faith, is, lead by example and show people that these are my beliefs and my value system, and when you're ready, you'll come around.
I think faith is such a good example, because it's like, if somebody sees you from the outside, right, and goes, man, the home seems to be happy. He seems to be happy. Where, like, the success is just coming to him with ease. What's your secret?
Yeah.
Right. Then I'm coming to you. I'm interested in, okay, what's your practice like? Whatever. I mean, for me, it's again, the way that I look at the world. And I've had the moments where people come to me and go, Raylen, like, why does nothing bother you? Why does it seem like, again, you're able to create these ideas and all these, actually see it come to fruition? Like, how are you doing that? Now there's an opportunity to learn. And then you go, well, this is the way that I look at the world. It served me. And then you have the ongoing joke is that in the movie The Matrix, I'm not Neo, I'm Morpheus. My job is just to give people a choice, right? Back in the day, Morpheus, red pill, blue pill. Like, for me, that's all I do is go, here are your options. Keep looking at the world that way that you are currently and get the same results, or maybe look at it a little bit differently, see what happens.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Let's shift gears for a second here. You talked about working for a company and, as you suggested, training people, and then the company sold, and now you got choices. What are you going to do? And you decided, and I love this, because this is exactly some of the things that I've talked about the last 3-4 years. You decided during a pandemic, right, that you're going to start a new business, and start coaching people, which, for some, that's the furthest from reality. They're thinking, they've got fear and loathing out there, and you're like, I'm going to start a business and help people. What inspired you to start a coaching business, and from what I can tell, go all in on it and be where you're at today?
Yeah. So, number one is, one was my son. My son at the time was like 6 months old, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's 4 now. And I remember looking at him, and I don't know why, I just like had this thought in my head where I had an opportunity to take this like 6-figure plus job. And I remember calling the guy and telling him I couldn't take the job because I was going to start a business. I thought it was crazy, but I thought about it. And when I looked at my son, I thought, man, what if he goes to do something scary and he says, Dad, I'm scared. And I go, yeah, like, you should do it still. And he says to me, which you would probably never do. Right. But I thought it, like, what if he said, well, Dad, you wanted to start a business, but you never did.
Yeah.
Right. It was that I wanted to show him, right, to put your, plus, you talk about logistics, like, he was still young. So I figured in my head, like, look, if I take this risk, doesn't work out, he's still young enough to where I could fix it. Like, I can figure it out. The other thing is, I've always believed in, if you're going through hell, you might as well keep going. And I was going through hell. Like, when I started this company, like, people think there are some people that have the opportunity to have help from family, so on and so forth. When I started this thing, I had a little bit of money in the bank from a severance package that I got, but then the pandemic hit, and then I had no job, and then all these things. I had a mortgage to pay for. At one point, I have a screenshot of it because I saved it. And I had negative, I think it was like $1,600 my bank account at one point, right? I went from having a 6-figure job as a sales, like, basically sales coach for my company, to negative $1,600. And fast forward, and now, for us, it's a pretty successful business. Over in the last year, we have a new offer, and we've done multiple 6 figures. Like, I'm happy. But the journey to get there, though, goes through going through hell. And I think most people, when they find themselves an opportunity, or find themselves in a situation, rather, they stop in the middle of hell and they look around and it's hot here, I don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Or they turn back and go back to the same situation. And I knew that if I took that job, right, as a sales executive, and then back in corporate America, I would have still been unhappy. My problem was that I didn't really enjoy having someone else have my freedom, because I worked for 2 other companies that either sold and then they closed a bunch of locations, or they just went out of business. And I was frustrated with the idea that someone doesn't matter how much education that I get, how many books I read, how much I, improve myself and my skill set, the company's going to close or thrive or do whatever they want to do, and I have no control over that. And I hated
right.
it. So anyway, I was going through hell, and I figured I might as well keep going. And then also just the amount of people that, from those employees that I had in the past, like when I was managing, that still called me and asked for not just like help with their sales and how they sell more or whatever, but also help with their mindset, help with whatever, kind of gave me evidence to show that like, oh, I can make money doing this. And then plus you do a little bit of market research, you go online, you go, and this is going to sound egotistical, but you see people out there that are giving bad information, or you can tell they're just not living that life. Like, you know what
That's
I mean?
right.
And you go, oh, they can do it. I can do it. There's an ongoing joke I always have, which is that my secret to success, Jim, is I'm too dumb to know I can't do something.
Yeah.
It's always worked for me.
Touch on again real briefly, because I believe there's people out there that want to start their own businesses and they've thrown their own barriers up. When I'm listening to your story, not only are you in the whole $1,600 in your bank account, but it's really six figures plus that $1,600, because you said no to a job that was going to guarantee you, the money.
Yep.
Right. So it wasn't like, you had to make up $1,600. You had to make up six figures plus $1,600. What did your schedule look like when you launched this business? I mean, look, you got a beautiful website and there's assets to that. And most people forget about all the stuff behind the scenes, between bank accounts and created LLCs and the legal and, boom, boom, boom. There's a long list of stuff. What did your schedule look like to get out of that hole when you said, okay, I'm going to do my own business?
It was a lot at first. And I think when you first start, this is the stuff that people don't want to hear, is that especially if you don't have a coach or if you don't have a program to follow, like when you don't know what's going to work, you try everything.
Yeah.
And I had one thing that was going for me, was that I could sell, right? I had no problem. If I thought I could help Jim, I have no problem pick up the phone and say, Jim, I think I can help you, and here's how, right? But what you struggle with sometimes, and this is where we get into my difference of opinion when it comes to creating an online business, for example, is that your brand needs to not just be about making money. I did that. So I created my first program ever, was relatively successful, right? We launched it. I'm a nobody. I think at the time I maybe had 1,000 followers on Instagram. And when I launched it, I think I made 30,000 off of it. And it was a two-month program. Teach people how to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the downside, though. It sucked. Why did it suck? I was bored. Jim, I was already doing sales coaching. And these people, I went from teaching high-level salespeople how to find the minutia of things that they can improve on their teams to teaching somebody how to not say dumb crap on the sales call. I was bored, right? And I hated it. And so it became this thing where I go, it is perfectly possible to make money and impact lives. It is perfectly possible for you to have a offer, a program, a service that you literally love doing and you would do for free. So I, started thinking, okay, well, what would that thing look like, right? Like, can I help people find that opportunity to align their purpose with what they do to make money? Because I think there are people that love making 6-7 figures. And listen, if your purpose is to make money, good on you. Like, I just don't think everyone's built that way. And I'm not built that way. Like what I have found is the more I've made things about money, the less money I make. The more that I make it about helping people remove their excuses, the more money I make. And then, so that's how I figured out this idea of that your purpose comes from your pain. So, and I got that also from Evan Carmichael. He wrote this book called Built to Serve. But if you notice, my biggest pain in life, my struggles growing up, came from being a victim of my life. And so I said, well, what if I just created companies based around the idea of removing excuses for people? Mm-hmm. And so that's how we came up with, our 3 brands. So Elevated is one brand. We have the Academy that helps people get started, remove their excuses, right? Remove their obstacles of starting an online business. And then we have the agency, what helps people remove the excuses of, I can't show up online because I don't have time, right? The high level coach or consultant. And we just produce everything. Yeah. And then we have the sales corporation side of it where we help corporate teams. But the point is, in every circumstance, it's about, what's your excuse, Jim? What do you want? Okay, you want this. What's your excuse? Okay, let me just remove it for you. And it's amazing how much money you can make if you just focus on your purpose. It's kind of crazy.
That's right. Wonderful. Look, we've danced around almost everything but your business until this last couple minutes. What can somebody expect if they wanted to come to you? And I know you just talked about your 3 pillars there. What can they expect, or what type of clients do you typically bring in, and how you guys help them?
Yeah. So I'll just talk about the Academy. I think that's the most simple one, is I saw a huge area of opportunity for the coaching industry in general. So let's say, again, you're listening out there and you have a skill set that you feel like you can give to other people, right? You want to be a coach of some sort, sales coach, mindset coach. Number one, I think the first step is you have to accept the fact that regardless of how silly you think the skill is, there's someone out there right now making money teaching other people how to do it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised to how many people come to me and go, yeah, but what I do isn't special. Well, guess what? There's still someone that's on square one. On a scale of 10, you could be on, spot number 5. And someone's at number 1 going, I would love to get there. So that's number 1. But with the academy, the opportunity that I saw is that there's a lot of people that developed a coaching program that's like, Jim, you got to follow step 1 through 10, and you'll beat the success that I have. Here's the problem with that. You don't want to show up like me, maybe. Or let's face it, like we had somebody recently that they came into our academy, and it's a mastermind / coaching program of sorts. And I'll explain that in a second. But she realized she didn't want to be a coach. She wanted to act more as a guide and come a journal. And so because of the way that we do the program, we let her do that. We go, all right, great. Let's go that direction. And we followed her and we helped her build that out. Most coaching programs I found were a 6-month course, give me $12,000 and follow my blueprint. And if it doesn't work for you after that 6 months, I'm sorry, but thanks for the 12 grand.
Yeah.
I wanted to create a situation where I am not the smartest person in the world, but I have 20, 30 coaches that are in my mastermind that if I don't have the answer, somebody does. And so that's why we created this hybrid of coaching and a mastermind. So that's, to me, the hardest part of working with someone like me and our community that we built is that you'll learn very quickly that the business tactics is not the end all be all. It's just not. Most of it starts as cliche as it sounds up here. Starts in your head.
Sure.
And we help people actually transition from their past self to the future self with support, right? Like, because it all starts from what do you want? So when you come into the group, we have, 2 meetings a week. And one of them is called intentions, because we set the intention of how I want to show up this week. Here's who I get to be this week. And if you don't show up that way, Jim, guess what? You have my entire community going, what happened? What's excuses we want to do? Like, what's silly enough, we have I call it a daily focus report. In the Slack channel, we have a Google form that goes out. There's 5 things, if you did them every single day, you can't help but grow your business.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we have everyone fill out a report, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, the highest, obviously. Did you show up as that person that would do that thing? And what we added was, somebody said, yeah, but Raylen, sometimes the situation happens and I can't do it. Can we add a comment section so we can say what happened that day? So we can refer back and go, oh, that's why. And so I put your bullshit excuses here. Because that's all they are, right? It doesn't matter. Because if you really think about it, it's always a situation where it's like, I didn't have any time today. Well, let's go back. How many times did you choose to be unconscious, so to speak, choose to let life get in your way instead of choosing to do the thing you said you're going to do? And like, our first law of our academy is to be impeccable with your word, right? It comes from the 4 agreements. That's it. It's crazy. It sounds, you could probably save money. Anybody that's listening that's thinking like, oh, you know what? I want to join the Elevated Coaches Academy. I'm going to save you some money. Literally, if you just did what you said you were going to do, you won't need to ever hire a coach. You wouldn't need to ever buy a program or a course. If you literally just test this out for like 3 weeks, just do exactly what you say you're going to do, everything works out for the better. What you find is that it's way harder than it sounds.
Sure. I'll add to that. Just write it down. Write down the 5 things you're going to do every day. You don't need to, it's funny because I've been coaching people individually for almost 5 years now. And the first thing I tell them, I said, look, I'm not a miracle worker. You still got to do the work. What I'm going to do is hold you accountable. And it's because, just like what you said, people they think it's easy. Okay, I'll write these things down, and they'll never do them. That's where that accountability comes in. It's not that hard.
That's why, again, sometimes you have to have, as a coach, a very uncomfortable conversation. And it's usually, do you even want this? And again, like, so if you do the focus report, that's a part of our program. And let's say 3 months happen, you go, Raylen, I'm not seeing any results. We're going to get on a call and we're going to look at your behavior for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And go, all right, 1 or 2 things is true here. Either 1, I'm an idiot. I have no idea what I'm talking about and I can't help you. Or you may not even want this at all, because for 3 months you scored 0 here. So either A, we need to remove an excuse for you, and I'll help you do that. We need to remove an obstacle, or B, you might not even want this because you're more comfortable being who you are today, which is fine. And that's okay. And that's the other thing that I just want to mention. If it's okay if you don't want to become a coach, it's okay if you don't want to become a consultant or have your own business. That is okay. Just don't fucking lie to yourself or the people around you. That's where I get upset, is if you lie to me in the face and go, I want to change my life. I want more freedom. I want this. I want this. I want this. And then your behavior shows otherwise. You can have your excuse or you can have what you want. You can't have both.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. And hopefully that'll keep them from lying to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Just don't lie to yourself, right? It's like, let's go back to health when we talked about, right? Like I have this friend of mine that I have pushed and pushed to push to try to improve his life in terms of his physical health. Every time I talk to him, like, hey man, how can I help you? And I remember he said to me, he goes, I'm cool. I'm good. I know that I am unhealthy. I know I'm tired all the time. I know all these things. I have no interest in actually doing anything about it. You know what? I freaking love that guy. Because at least he's honest. He's like, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm like, cool. Okay. And we're still friends. I love that guy.
That's great. Good conversation. You know what attracted me to you, besides the fact that you came through my David Meltzer network, is on the top of your website, one of the first things it says is, so let's cut through the bullshit and get to work. And I think that's a good way to close out our time here today. Is, this is a good opportunity for those of you out there that utilize the new year to refresh, restart, whatever it is you do. Now's the time to cut through the bullshit and get to work if it's what you really want to do. So there's wonderful tools out there. Raylen's got a great website with lots of details. Tell us where, again, the website handles. I'll put them in the show notes so that they have them, but where can they find you guys and learn a little bit more?
Yeah, just elevatedcoachesacademy.com. We also have a YouTube channel, just my name, Raylen Davis. And I usually tell people to start there because every week, not on top of our podcast, we do trainings. So my idea is I want to out free the competition. I am literally everything that I teach under a paywall, I teach for free through the YouTube channel and things like that. So if you're interested in becoming a coach, just go to the YouTube channel, try it on, try to improve a little bit. And then when you're ready, you can come see us.
I love that. I'm trying to out free the competition.
Yeah. Well, because if we can be honest, all this information's out there anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So, the only thing people really pay us for, if I'm being honest, is the community, the partnerships, and the accountability. It's not the information that I have. It's not that. You can go find that on YouTube or go read a book. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we appreciate that. And I appreciate your time and your conversation today and what you're doing, your blunt approach. People need that. So thank you so much for that. And let's look forward to a 2023, see what happens.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great week.